In front of me here I have the 12 volt DC 5000 milliamp 9 output professional wall mounted power unit. Basically it's a power unit you use in connection with a number of up to 9 CCTV cameras and power them off a single power unit. So let's look at what comes in the box and how it's presented. It comes in this box here, which you can see it's very plain, but it's aimed at the professional market. Okay, we have the actual power unit here itself. It's sealed inside this outer box. If you just remove these two screws, which I've done with a Phillips screwdriver, you can see the contents of the box inside, and we'll come back here to this. Okay, it's a hinged lid on it. It comes with this user manual, which you can see here, very basic, but it covers all the key points. We have the actual power lead here itself. It's 13 amps, and you can see it comes with a kettle style connector on it. We have a set of screws here, and also what we have here is we have a bag here with a spare 5 amp power fuse for the main fuse here, and what we have then as well is a series of 1 amp spare fuses as well. So what I'm going to move on to now is the unit itself. So I'm just going to stand it up here. So you can see here, and I'm just going to come and talk about the contents of it here. So the first thing to note is the power comes in here with the main power unit. Then we have an on-off switch to isolate the power going into the box. We have a total of 9 power outputs here. Each is capable of giving 550 milliamps, which is more than sufficient to power most cameras. We have a main fuse here, which is a 5 amp fuse. We have a series of 9 1 amp fuses here. And then we have a series of LED lights here, which are going to indicate whether we have power going to the various outputs or not. So what I'm going to do now is just indicate how we would install this, and it might just give you a better indication of why this is so popular for professional installs. So just off camera here, I'm going to plug in this power unit or power lead. I'm just going to tilt over the box here, and you can see here that we have the power input here. And we'll see here we have it plugged in, and I'll hit the power switch now. We'll see that we have 9 LED lights coming on. So let's look at the advantages of using this. So the first advantage of it is that it's a centralized system. So you have everything coming back to one spot, and there's a lot to be said for that. So if you had problems with a particular camera, what we'd be able to do is we'd be able to just simply go to a single location, and we'll look for the LED light that's turned off, and we'll know that's the one that's giving us the power problem. So we'll know immediately if it's with the power unit or with the camera itself. The next thing here is that it's much more cost efficient to do it this way in terms of having to buy a whole series of separate power units. And also then in terms of the facilities we need in terms of plug, a single plug here can power 9 cables off it. So if we went to wire this up, what we do is we pop the rivet on the bottom here, run our cables into this point, and then we can wire it. We can see it's marked positive and negative, and each will feed power to the particular cameras itself. So overall this is a highly effective unit, and it's very popular particularly with professional installers. Now, as a slightly more upmarket version of this, I'm just going to drop this down here now. The slightly more popular version or upmarket version of this, we have another one that's up to 10,000 milliamps, and it can supply either 9 or 18 things, and it has an option on it. You can supply them at different power levels. If you're using it in 9 mode, up to 1.1 amps, and if you're using it in 18 camera mode, it will be in up to 550 milliamps, identical to this. Now, in terms of cheaper, lower spec ones, we also supply 1 amp, 2 amp, and 5 amp power units that can directly power supply the units themselves. Now, the limitations to something like this is if we had a very large camera that had, let's say, an amperage requirement, let's say of 2 or 2.5 amps, then we'd have to put a large power supply directly next to the camera. And also in terms of the cable runs, if we had cables that were being located a very long distance away from here, sometimes it can be advantageous, particularly with IR cameras, put the camera's power source right next to it. But you know, the applications for this particular power unit here are very wide ranging. So that's it anyway, an overview of the 12 volt, 5000 milliamp, 9 output power unit.